Hey gang, Private Jack here. Welcome to part 7 on my series on how to convert XNA models into a format that can be used in Source FilmMaker using Blender. Well, so far so good. We've got the bones pretty much set up and we're ready to apply the textures to Ralph here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide the bones so that they're not visible while we're doing our textures. And to do that, what I do is I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to come back in here, I'm going to select the bones again. And I'm going to press H. And that will hide the bones. Okay? Another way of doing that, to unhide the bones, first off, Alt-H will unhide anything that is hidden. Another way to do that is to come over here into this menu here, and come over to the armature and actually click this little eyeball. Turn that, click that, and it'll turn it off. Okay, so now we've got Ralph standing here. He's all gray and he needs to be colored. I'm going to right click on the model and I can see that I've got some stuff selected here. Well, these are actual objects in the model. Okay, so this particular model is made up of 4 objects plus an armature. And if I select that and I come over, I'm going to select the first object, and down here in the object menu I can see that it's called yada yada yada. I come over here to the vertex groups. I can see that there are 2 vertex groups. What a vertex group is, all, and I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to select that particular vertex group and I'm going to click on select. And what should happen is anything that is part of that group will highlight. If I deselect it, it will unselect. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to select. Whoa, what happened there? We have some stuff that's selected. Well, maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of one of the bones, but anyway, make a long story short, what I could do is I could go into the armature and add a couple of jiggle bones, yada yada yada, but that's beyond the scope of this particular tutorial. So I'm going to deselect that. If I select that one again, I see that the whole hair area is selected, so I know that I'm going to get everything that I need there. Okay, let's see. Up here in this tab, you've got the Render tab, you've got the Layers tab, you've got a Scenes tab, you have a World tab, you have the Object tab, Constraints tab, Modifiers tab, Vertex Groups tab, Materials tab, Textures tab, Particles, and Physics. Blender is a very robust tool where you can actually have wind blowing through this guy's hair and it will move yada 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 depending on how you've got it all set up. But we're not using Blender to do our animations right now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to paint this particular object. I'm going to come back here to the Textures tab and click on it. What I'm going to find is that there is a material listed here, but we have no idea of knowing what that material is. If I come into the Materials or the Textures tab, there are no textures assigned to it. So I want to make sure that if I have this item and I want to apply this item, that when I click on this material, first off, let's unselect everything. If I select this material, everything in his hair should turn highlighted. And it looks like it does. Deselect it, and everything turns off. So I know that all the vertices are assigned to this material for this object. Okay, let's go back to our XNA LoRa XPS file. Come down into Data, go into the Wreck-It Ralph, and what we have here are a whole bunch of TAGA files. These TAGA files are the materials that should be part of Wreck-It Ralph. So for this particular object, what I have to do is make sure that the material is identified as the name of the actual material that I'm going to use in Source FilmMaker. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name. And to change this name, and it looks like it's hair, I come down into this box here and change that to hair. Okay, now we have a texture called hair. What we have to do now is assign a material to it. So by clicking on the Materials tab and going back into that LoRa file, this Wreck-It Ralph folder, I'm going to look for the hair. Now there's 3 hair textures here. I'm going to open this up in an editor. So this is hair. This is the normal for the hair, and what the normal does is provides a bump, or in this particular case it's a bump because he's identified it as hair B. Hair B, hair bump. And this is the specular for the hair. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to assign materials. First thing I want to do is I want to split this screen off. I need to move this over this way a little bit. And up here in this corner you'll see that there's 3 little divided lines here. I'm going to put my cursor there, hold down the left mouse button, and pull the screen to the left. That will create another screen. Down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this screen from being the 3D manipulator program or editing screen to a UV map editor. Okay, UV image editor. And what that does is it provides me with a work area for my materials. Over here in this screen now, I'm going to select all those all the objects, and I'm going to find that there are many, many, many pieces of hair here. And they don't quite reach the entire size of this. So we're going to work with that in a minute. I come back into my Materials tab. I'm going to select New. And what I want to do is I want to make this material a image because I'm going to load an image. I'm going to change the mapping coordinates to UV, and then I'm going to open that hair file that we saw. So back to desktop, down into XNA LoRa, data, Wreck-It Ralph, and that hair tagga. Okay, so now I have that. What I have to do now is assign this material to this UV. And the way I do that is I come down here to this tab and I load hair. Why didn't you come up? Oh, yuck. Hair 2. This one has the actual texture to it. Okay, let's change this name. We want that to be hair tagga. There we go. Now, let's see what happens when we apply the texture. The texture is now applied to this area. And to see that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into my edit screen and I'm going to change the viewport shading to textured. He turned white, but the hair almost all turned into the hair texture. Why didn't it all turn? Well, because actually it is all textured. This isn't. The reason why it isn't all textured is because not all of the hair follicles are on the UV map. So, how can we fix that? What I'm going to do is probably select about all of them. So in this window, my cursor's in this window, I'm going to select all. Now I'm going to scale these down just a little bit so that at least 3 fall onto the UV surface. To scale, I'm going to press S. First off, I'm going to change my and what I'm doing here is I'm hovering over top of this line here and moving my mouse button. I'm going to change this to 2D cursor. I'm going to move my 2D cursor by going Shift and cursor to, where do I want to put my cursor? Oh, okay. All I'm going to do is left click in about the middle of the map. And now I'm going to do the S, and I'm going to scale that down just a little bit. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to hit A to unselect everything. And now I'm just going to select 3 at a time and start moving them onto the bump map. I'm going to do a circular select this time. I'm going to press C, and by holding down the left mouse button I can paint what I want to select. To get rid of the circular select, I use the left mouse button. Now I'm going to grab those 3 that I selected by pressing G, and I'm going to move them on the y-axis? No, x-axis. So I'm going to press X. I'm just going Control Z, grab X. I'm going to move them over on top of the map. A to unselect everything, C to go into circular select, paint the next group of 3, right click, grab X, move them on to here. Next 3, A to unselect everything, C to go into circular select, paint up my ones that I want, G to grab, X to grab on the X, move them onto the map. All to unselect, C, paint this one up, grab X, move it onto the map. Okay, here's another little trick. See how these guys overlap? If I paint them up, I'm probably going to end up selecting vertices that I don't want to. So I'm going to left click and select one of the vertices. Then I'm going to use Control L to paint up the rest of the vertices that are within that particular object. Grab X, move it onto the map. A to unselect everything. C, grab the next 3. Grab X. All. C. And this guy's kind of big. I don't know if I'm going to get all 3 of them on the map. I may have to rescale them. Okay, right click to clear the circle, grab X. Yeah, see how they don't go on the map all together? So I'm going to move them there, hit the S button, and scale them down just a bit so that they're all on the map. All, next 3. Okay, I happen to hit one of the ones that I didn't want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over that vertice that I don't want, and I'm going to press the middle mouse button, and it will unselect. Press the right button to clear the circle, grab X, bring them over onto the map. Now these guys are still way out there. Shrink them down a bit. C. Highlight them all. Grab X. Oops. C. Middle mouse button to unselect the ones that are on the map already. Right click. Grab X. Over to the right a little bit. All. Okay, let's grab the next 3. C. As you can see, it's a painstaking process. Grab X. And I'm going to pause this while I do the rest of them. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so basically what I've done is I've gone and I've added all those points that were off the map to the actual map here. They're overlying textures. It should be all right. I don't think we're going to see anything change. There's a couple there that are off the map. What we'll do is we'll bring them back on. Select those two vertices and just grab them and put them onto the map here. Maybe that one too. Grab, put it on the map. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that's got the base texture down. Now we want to add the bump. And one of the things I forgot to show you down here is the shading, the influence, the shading and the geometry type selectors. This is the actual texture that we want. So what we're going to do is we want that to be color, and we want that color to be 1. 1 is being full color. Okay, I'm going to select all of these now, and I'm going to scale them on the y-axis just to lengthen them out a bit. There. Now we're using up the whole map. Looking over here at Ralphie, it looks like we've got hair. So now we want to add a little bit of bump to it. And the way that we do that is we add another texture. So come up here and select the next open space, New, Image. Generated is UV. And down here we're going to turn off color, and we're going to select normal. Then we're going to open that bump map. So desktop, XNA LS, XNA LoRa, XPS, data, Ralph, and hair B. Open that. So now we've got some bump, and now we want some specular. So we find the next open area, New, let's see, image, right there, UV, open the file, and notice how we have the Wreck-It Ralph folder now showing up here in our recent. We can just click that and pick up the specular, open, and come down here into the influences, turn off color, turn on specular. Okay, and that should be that. File, save. Okay, that particular object is now colored. We're going to move on to the next one, and what it is looking like is it is the body. So we're going to hit tab, and these are the body parts that show up. Let's see, we're going to call this body. First off, we're going to deselect and reselect. Yes, they're going to come in. We're going to change this to body. Go back into the materials now. Scroll up. New, image, generated, UV, open, Wreck-It Ralph. What we're looking for is Ralph main tagga. Change that to that. Select that. Change this to textured. And now we have his clothes on. And that looks okay. I'm happy with that. Come back into edit mode. Now we're going to add the bump again. Image, UV, open, Wreck-It Ralph, main bump. Come down here, change that from color to normal. Come back here, now we're going to add the specular. UV, specular, open. There we go. Okay, select the next object. And that looks like it's going to be the rest of his body. And we're pretty lucky with this one because it's going to use the same textures. But we're just going to call this head. Actually, no, we're going to keep it at body. Okay, tab. And because it's body, the materials are known. What we do now is we go in here and we just select that main. That's done. Now we need his eyes. So we come in here to the next one. Call this eyes. Now these are the names that we're actually going to call our textures when we convert them to VTF format, or VTF format. Okay, materials, new image, UV, color, open, Ralph, eyes. And there is no specular or bump for the eyes. Okay, go to edit mode, and we go to here, change that back to eye. Come here, go to eye, select that. Okay, the eye is not quite where we want it. And you see how we have everything kind of looking weird here? We're going to fix that up in a minute. It has to do with the actual direction of the normals. It's something that we have to fix. Okay, let's go back into edit mode. We're going to select all of that, and we're just going to move it on the x-axis a little bit so that all of the eye is in there. And that has our Ralph painted. Now, what we have to do is we have to fix the normals. So, edit, on the eyes, we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to recalculate the normals and flip the direction. What happened there? Let's go to this one. Normals, tab, into edit mode, flip the direction. Oh, hello. Gotta go back and do the eyes again. Tab. What happened to my eyes? Where are you? Tab. Flip the direction. There we go. That's better. Okay, so that's done. That's done. This one. Tab. Flip the direction. Now he's starting to look whole. And come in here. Tab. Flip the direction. There we go. Now we got a fully painted Ralph. And he's looking not too bad. Okay. Unhide by doing a Control H to bring the bones back in. And we're looking pretty good. So we're at about 35 minutes on this particular video, I think. Yeah. And I'm going to file save this work and come back and we'll actually look at the next step that we have to do with Blender. So with that I say private jack out for now.